Welcome back, everybody, to the Blue and Gold podcast. This is your host, Joffrey Whiteside, and I have the privilege of sitting down with EJ Adler today, who is a class of 2003 graduate. He owns his own short-term rental property management company, who manages over 160 doors short-term rentals, which is just absolutely insane. EJ, welcome to the show, and introduce yourself to the GOATs.
Thanks so much, Joffrey. Really appreciate you having me on here today. EJ Adler, class of 2003. My background is Navy pilot. Left active duty in 2013. Went to business school in Chicago. Did management consulting for 2 years for McKinsey. Decided corporate life wasn't for me, so ended up packing up, moving to Jacksonville, Florida in 2017, and with the intention of actually starting up a real estate private equity company, which I did do sort of, but and I still run that one too, doing syndications and a little bit of development. But what ended up really taking off was the short-term rental property management company. So that's so kind of the REP, real estate private equity, is kind of like my side hustle at the moment. And the short-term rental focused property management company is sort of like my main hustle.
Okay, awesome. So tell the GOATs how you got started in the short-term rental realm. Did you buy a property? Just give them kind of the backstory of how you got started.
Absolutely. So right as I was starting as a management consultant at McKinsey back in 2016, I had a dog, not even a girlfriend at the time, and I needed a place to keep my dog while I was traveling as a consultant, and also flying down to Jax once a month to fly SH-60 Bravos with my reserve squadron. So I actually bought a duplex in central Chicago, West Town, for those who know the area, West Town, Best Town. And I ended up renting out the lower unit to a long-term tenant. In the lease, I literally told her that she was obligated to watch my dog for up to 20 days per month. And of course, over 20 days, I paid her additional, is only fair. Yeah. And with that, I gave her a break on rent, didn't charge her pet fees for her 2 pets, and all was well. But then I had a 2-story, 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath apartment of my own that was sitting vacant for usually 20-ish days per month. Mm-hmm. And I thought, hey, this is an amazing place, far too big for me. I'm rarely here. I'm just going to stick it on Airbnb and see what happens. I did that, and it turned out remarkably well, paid my mortgage and then some. I had an existing investment property in Jacksonville that I picked up when I was a FRP at a HSL 40 then back in the day, and ended up converting those 2 units to short-term rentals, and then picked up a couple commercial properties as well, converted a bunch of apartments to short-term rentals there, and that was working out great. And at that point, folks started approaching me, asking me to manage their properties, first of which fellow GOAT, Craig Veach. So my first client was a Naval Academy alum. So shout out to you, Craig, if you're out there. And he took me on. He let me take his property on as my first, outside of my own and my family's. And then it went from there, got a bunch of referrals, managed a bunch of properties for other folks. You guys know who you are in Jacksonville Beach, a bunch of pilots, primarily up at HSM 40, a couple VP 30 folks as well. So down at NAS Jax, some P8 guys and gals there. So anyway, that's kind of how it started off, and then expanded to Nashville. We have a place in St. Pete now that we manage, and we just entered the Annapolis market with my buddy Seth Denola, his place, and a bunch of partners in DTA. They had a gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous 3-bed, 2.5 bath short-term rental. They had a local property management company who, kind of old school. Let's say they weren't, the smartest in the world in terms of a lot of things. And we took it over after they were acquired by a bigger company, Vacasa, for y'all that know them, the biggest vacation rental management company in the U.S. They didn't want a big corporate property manager, so they brought us on. And I'm happy to say that we've been managing their property for almost a full year, and I think we've done really well. Don't want to say exactly, but I'm very proud of it, and I hope they are too, because I think we've done awesome things with it. And we've had a really good first year in Annapolis since we're coming up on that at the end of October. That'll be our first year in that market. But so far, I can say I absolutely love it. Even compared to like Northeast Florida, which is our home market, it's we've seen a lot of really good. The term is ADR, average daily rate retention. So we've seen that's been holding very steady. Whereas in markets like Northeast Florida, we've seen a lot of saturation of short-term rentals, and as a result, we've seen some significant compression to the average daily rate in that market for a substantial proportion of our listings there.
Okay, I'm gonna stop you there. We gotta rewind. That's a lot to unpack.
Sorry, yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot to unpack right there. Okay, first rental, right? You got a duplex just because you needed somebody to watch your dog.
That's my logic. That's kind of how I work.
That's how you got into multifamily. That's absolutely insane.
Yep.
So for that, that first Airbnb, what was your like net profit for the year? What did that look like?
So I had the bottom unit, which was a long-term rental. I believe I rented it out for about $1,500 a month.
Okay.
To my long-term tenant. The upper unit, gosh, this is from 7 years ago. I think, and this was with me occupying the unit 5 to 10 days per month. I think I was probably making $3,000 to $4,000 a month.
Okay.
And my costs were very low because I lived in it. So oftentimes, like, I'd come back home and I would clean the unit.
Yeah.
So that was usually what I'd do, is I'd say to tell the cleaners, like, don't clean it, I'll clean it.
Yeah.
So
I tried that one time.
I did.
That was absolutely terrible. It was like so dirty after, and I just had to call some cleaners to do it.
So I don't do this anymore. Full disclosure. But back in the day, I would clean it myself. I did all the guest communication. It was literally a one-man band. And so my costs were pretty low. It was almost all of the top line went mostly to the bottom, except for your typical property taxes, insurance, all the fixed costs you have in any real estate investment. Yeah. So I was cash flowing really well. Mortgage was before the city started jacking up my property taxes. I think it was about at the beginning maybe $2,500 to $3,000 a month.
Okay.
So like nice little cushion, especially with that being my primary residence as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
It still is to an extent, primary residence. Stay there some of the time. Still go there then I have a couple of my uniforms still there.
Yeah.
That sort of thing. So, it's kind of like my primary residence, but then
when you travel, you
travel a lot too. Yeah, exactly.
So you kind of like house hack it. Like when you're there, you're that's your primary residence. But when you leave, you rent it out and probably honestly like travel for free. Which I've seen a lot of people do that. They go to Bali for a month and they rent their house out and that pays like for their trip.
Yep. So one specific example of that. So I basically bounce around between Chicago, Jacksonville, and Annapolis. So I Airbnb'd myself out of my own place in Jacksonville. So my place where I stay there, it's like my apartment, part of a quadruplex, of course.
Yeah.
But I got a really good booking. I don't want to say how much, but it was like eye-wateringly good. And I was like, you wanted to stay there from, I think, August until November. Yeah. So I was like, okay, I'll take it. So I was like, that pays the mortgage for the fourplex and then some. Yeah. One unit.
Yeah,
so,
that's absolutely insane.
Yeah, it's like, so I did that, and then I have a place up in Annapolis where I stay. I actually signed a lease with because I leased that place, but I signed a lease with the landlord giving me the option to rent it out as short-term rental when I travel.
Gotcha.
Because I'm gone a fair amount of the time.
Okay.
But I haven't exercised that yet because I think I'm finally getting to the point where I'm like, man, packing up all my stuff, locking it up, taking it out, putting it in my car, putting it wherever. It is such a pain. Like, I've been doing that for years.
Yeah.
At this point, almost 7 years. And I think I might be finally at the point where I'm like, I just don't know if the juice is worth the squeeze.
Yeah. But you sacrificed a lot to get to that point. And now, like, look where you are. Yep. You're managing a lot of properties. You own a ton of properties, which I think is awesome. So we talked about kind of the upside of, Airbnb. What's the, horror stories as far as, renting your primary residence out? Just give me some horror stories.
Yeah, so probably the best example, and this is why guest screening is so important, and this is an example of how we used to not do this well, and we've actually started doing this in the last 2 or 3 years really well. We let a guest from South Florida book I have another duplex in Jacksonville that I rent out, 5-bedroom, 2 bathrooms, over a 3-2, and for the upper unit, we really I had my crew do the renovations and did an amazing job, really high end. But we also configured it perfectly for short-term rentals because it has 9 beds and 5 bedrooms.
Yeah.
So like that maximizing revenue based on beds and bedrooms, which are the 2 highest factors that correlate with revenue, are bedrooms and beds.
Gotcha.
And so we had a group of college kids from South Florida book the property for a weekend. When my cleaners came in, they found Gatorade dripping from the second floor down to the first floor apartment. They had and we found also remnants of water balloons. We determined that they had a water balloon fight indoors. The water balloons were filled with Gatorade. This is in addition to kicking indoors, just like making a huge mess of the property. Ended up costing us over $3,000 to get it back up to being guest ready. But with that being said, I thankfully is one of the times when I actually was able to make a claim. They were an Airbnb guest as opposed to one of our other channels, and was able to get compensated for the majority of the damage that was caused. But I mean, holy moly, man. And that was a freshly renovated property. It had been online for maybe 6 months.
Yeah.
After I dropped a lot of money into making it as close to perfect as I could.
Yeah.
And that was very frustrating.
I can imagine. So I have a quick story. So when, I was house hacking my house here in Virginia Beach, decided to do, short-term rentals. That first booking I had, it was a couple. It seemed like, legit and everything like that. I had a couple stay at my house, and they punched 3 holes in 3 doors in my house. And I was like heartbroken until, I got that payment. I got that, that cash flow in. And I was like, this isn't so bad. I was literally heartbroken from them destroying my house. But at the end of the day, you have to think of it as, a business, and kind of, remove your feelings, from your investment properties.
And that's so true. So I always tell my clients, expect guests to destroy everything and be pleasantly surprised when they don't.
Yeah.
It's somewhat tongue in cheek. I mean, I can say that my first property in Chicago, which is still operating, I mean, it's been 7 years now, and probably 90% of the stuff that was there 7 years ago is still there. It's in pretty good condition. I will say that another anecdote is I came home one time to that property, and my kitchen table was not quite in splinters, but close to it on the floor. The guests had destroyed the kitchen table.
Yeah.
But it was a really good booking. And so I made a claim with Airbnb. I don't think I got a payout that time. They denied it for some silly reason, which they do often. But still, it was like the reservation itself was worth significantly more than the kitchen table, which may also have been secondhand I got from my mom a couple years ago, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah.
It was not, but it's still, it was a nice kitchen table, but I kind of took it in perspective, ordered a new one from Wayfair.
Yeah.
Came a couple days later, put it together, up and running, right as I left. Now, I didn't have a kitchen table. I had to, eat on the coffee table I was there. So it was a little bit of a personal inconvenience, but, not the end of the world.
Yeah, definitely.
Yep.
Okay, so you manage over 160 short-term rentals, which, I own double-digit short-term rentals, and I know how hard that is, right? That's probably equivalent to managing about 1,000, long-term rentals. So how are you doing this? What systems is your company using? Why would you even subject yourself to that?
Great question.
Just give us, the rundown of your company.
Yep, 100%. So I completely agree with you. What I tell folks is it is operating a short-term rental is 10 times the work for 2 to 3 times the revenue. So you do that calculation and you figure out, you do also ask yourself, why the heck am I doing this?
Yeah.
If I'm working 10 times as much for, making 2 to 3 times as much. But with that being said, the way we're able to mitigate that are systems and processes. So you asked about what software we use. We use Guesty as our property management software. That's often considered like the Cadillac in the short-term rental business of property management software. We use Price Labs for revenue management.
Okay.
Which and the analogy for that, and that's, if I were to tell y'all, you guys are out there that are renting, and I know there are lots of folks, lots of go-to who do this on their own. If you pay for one piece of software, it should be pricing software. So important. It will make such a big difference. With that being said, the caveat is that good pricing software is like a really sharp sword. you also have to know how to wield it, right?
Yeah.
So that's the second side of the. And so you start off as an amateur. It's your first time ever playing a sword, and you might cut yourself.
Yeah.
But eventually, if you practice with enough, eventually you're going to be really deadly.
Yeah.
But I prefer Guesty. I've used others beyond pricing, Wheelhouse. Do not also other critical piece of advice. Do not use Airbnb smart pricing if you're only listing on Airbnb. It is terrible. There are lots of incentives. I can get into the particulars of why you should not use it, or if you guys want to reach out, I'm happy to talk to you ad nauseum about why you should not use it. But there are incentives associated with Airbnb that mean you should not use it because it is benefiting them and it is not benefiting you as the owner operator.
Yeah.
Other stuff we use StayFi for guest we have splash pages at our units for Wi-Fi. So guests, it's like at a hotel where they have to put their name and email in. We capture that and we have the option. We give them the option to opt in or opt out for marketing.
Yeah.
We use Zendesk for guest communication for our phone number and our calling the guests. Gosh, I feel like I'm missing out one or two pieces of software, but we have a bunch. Very, very focused on. We used Venturi for client acquisition, kind of like CRM, which is okay. We may be switching to another provider for that. Okay. You really wouldn't get to that until you're a significant size PM.
Yeah,
that's way down the road. As an operator, you wouldn't use that.
Okay.
But anyway, the bottom line is automate as many things as you can. Put in place processes, checklists, former Navy pilot. So big on checklists.
Yeah.
Absolutely essential. Standard operating procedures. We have a extensive guest communications OneNote internally. We use Microsoft too. So we have a bunch of Microsoft products. Teams. We use Teams a ton.
Okay.
Internally for communication as well. That's another software suite and the whole Microsoft suite. We have a OneNote that has all of the information for basically the entire company. Like that is our blue brains, as we call it, Naval Aviation.
Yeah.
For how we run our company. It's in a OneNote, very useful. All the property managers are responsible for updating their listings. We have, centralized things like how to get into utility, accounts and all that stuff, so we can monitor usage, see if the internet's out, see if it's a Comcast issue, see if it's a guest issue because they unplugged the modem, which they usually do.
Yeah.
That sort of thing. But
that's pretty advanced. I'm not gonna lie. That's the first time I'm hearing about that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, man. This is just stuff I've over the years, all the learnings that you develop. And I think that's one of the things that I know I mentioned this to you earlier, but me today cannot compete with me 7 years ago when I first started this company. I just know so much more, and I've institutionalized that knowledge in like our OneNote, our guest communications manual, so that the entire team knows it. If I know it, they know it. If one of the property managers knows it, who's based in the U.S., one of our property managers based in the Philippines, they know it.
Yeah.
It's all there.
Yeah.
It's like our NATOPS, or whatever you want to call it for how our company runs.
Yeah.
So, and it's absolutely critical. You got to institutionalize all that knowledge. You got to put it on paper, and you got to share it amongst your team, or else if it's compartmentalized within somebody's brain, it's not there. They go on vacation, they rage quit, they do whatever. That information is gone.
Yeah.
So you have to make sure you codify everything you possibly can.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the benefits of actually like reaching out to people and getting mentors. Like when you learn enough about the subject and you can talk, smartly about the subject, it pays. If somebody were to reach out to you, you could probably give them, 7 years worth of knowledge where they don't have to make the same, mistakes as you did. And I think that's the, cool thing about this podcast where, we're interviewing entrepreneurs who have, gone through the struggle and are, running their businesses at a really high level, which I think is important. So you're the first pilot on this show.
Okay.
So just talk about a little bit about, your military service and how that, translated into running a successful business.
Absolutely. So I think one of the key things is empowering your folks, empowering your team members, valuing them, listening to feedback. And the thing I talk about a lot amongst my team is CRM, crew resource management. We use a lot in aviation. Is you listen to everybody on your team. Doesn't matter whether they've been there for a month or whether I've been doing this for 7 years. Everybody's voice is equal, and everybody's voice is important because it's just because somebody is brand new, they might, in fact, if anything, they might have better insight than me doing this. I've been doing it for so long. I have, preconceived notions and it's got to be this way. I've always seen it. But sometimes it's that refreshing new perspective that challenges you and you're like, maybe that isn't right. Maybe what I think has been good. Maybe I should listen to that person. And I think keeping an open mind, when I was at McKinsey, there's something called an obligation to dissent. That's embedded in McKinsey's culture. It's that even if you're that brand new consultant, it's very similar to Naval Aviation CRM.
Yeah.
You have an obligation to speak up if you think something is going wrong. And that's the same thing as in an MH-60 Romeo aircrew, is if you're that brand new, E3 AW in the back, something's going wrong, you're getting that, the hair on the back of your neck standing up, you need to speak up. You need to let your aircraft commander know that something is not right. And if that aircraft commander is worth his or her salt, he or she will listen to that brand new E3, take a second and say, you know what? Maybe they have something there. Maybe, I'm doing something that not only is wrong, but can endanger my aircraft and my aircrew.
Yeah.
So I think having that culture and, even celebrating folks who, question what's going on and provide their opinion, are not afraid to speak up as well. I think that's critically important.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
That's awesome. So you went to business school, and I know a lot of, goats are considering like business school. I didn't go to business school. I just kind of hopped right into entrepreneurship. So how do you think, business school really shaped your business? How did it help out?
100%. So yeah, that was a question I was thinking as well. I didn't really know what I was going to do when I grew up. Yeah. So that was part of it, is like, hey, I don't know what I'm going to do when I grow up. Yeah. Got this thing called the GI Bill, yellow ribbon. This seems cool. Get to go to an amazing place with some of the smartest minds in the world for, 21 months and see how that works out. So ended up applying to a bunch of business schools, studying my tail off for the GMAT, get into how that was. That was crazy. Applying to 10 different business schools, got accepted to the University of Chicago, Columbia, NYU, Duke. Ended up deciding at the University of Chicago, primarily because of cultural fit. I just felt like it was a really good place for me.
Yeah.
For those folks that are a little bit nerdy like me, very intellectually challenging. People are just like, the brains on folks there are just crazy, and getting such a great perspective from folks from literally all over the world. Like most the M7 or whatever you want to call them, business schools, folks from all over the world, 40% international population. So I thought it was really cool meeting folks from around the world. And one of my favorite parts about Booth that I still do this almost every year is we have an annual dining out. And so for all the militaries. And so you have a dining out, but imagine with Navy, Army, Marines, Air Force, Coast Guard, plus South Koreans, Canadians, Israelis.
Sounds like a good time.
It's a great time. Plus all these, everybody's business. You
get
students, you get alums. I was actually Mr. Vice. Okay. And actually one of our members, JD Modrak, he's probably, I sent him the grog a bunch and almost got, we'll talk about some other things that almost happened to him because of that, but it's good times. But I feel like in terms of how it applies to my business, a couple things. One is it gives you just some fundamental knowledge of how business works. Stuff like microeconomics, pricing discrimination, bundling, all these very basic. This is like microeconomics 101, but things as a small business owner are they just help you kind of like add a little bit extra, right? Yeah. Maybe you're not going to make 50% more, but it's like by having these concepts in mind and modeling your business accordingly, maybe it's 5% here, 10% there. Yeah. But it helps, all that adds up. The other thing is accounting. Having a basic knowledge of accounting as a small business owner is critical.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm not very good at accounting. I did not, that was not my best class by a long shot. But even just knowing debits and credits, like how to, cash flow statements work with P&L.
Speak the language.
That helps. And then the final one is finance, at least for me personally. Booth is one of the best finance schools in the world. Amazing faculty. I'm not the brightest mind in finance in the world by a long shot, but I can create a P&L. I can do a pro forma. I know about debt and equity and how they operate and work with each other. conceptually, like I just understand it, having spent, 3, 4, 5 classes. I don't know how many finance classes I took, but having done some like in-depth work on, financial modeling, and those sort of things. There's some other things, like I took a class that touched upon revenue management. So that helps me in terms of pricing and how I understand revenue management for the hospitality industry, which I think is critically important, is having a PM who implicitly understands that.
Yeah.
That's also been helpful specifically for what I do, from a knowledge perspective. The other thing that might even be more important is your network, because like the Naval Academy has a super strong network.
Yeah, absolutely.
Amazingly strong, phenomenal folks. Same for like a, top tier MBA program you go to. You just meet so many cool people, who just broaden your horizon, have so much experience from so many different backgrounds from all over the world, from startup folks to, folks managing, giant conglomerates, billion-dollar conglomerates for their family.
Yeah.
And everything in between, bankers, consultants, corporate folks. They all come there, and you get to, and it's just a great experience. Like, I loved it. I had such a great time. I thought it was such a good use of the GI Bill, and I just thought it was phenomenal. Like, I would not, and I mean, the final thing is, it's really fun.
Yeah.
Like, I had such a great time.
Yeah.
Got to go travel, went to Ireland, went to Morocco, hiked the Incan Trail. So with like all these really cool people, a lot of veterans too, like very heavy on veterans.
Okay.
Proportionally, I think the class are usually 5 to 10% veterans versus 1% for the general population.
Gotcha.
So if you think about that, that's 5 to 10x.
Yeah.
What your general like the business schools love veterans, and honestly for good reason, because frankly, like, we do really well in the private sector.
Yep.
Like, you combine a service academy education with a top MBA, and you are so set up for success. You are just, and then if you want to go further, you finish that off with like a couple years in corporate, whether it's, a rotational program, banking, consulting, entrepreneurship, whatever. But then you are just, you're just like shot off a launching pad.
Yeah.
It just sets, I personally, from and I realize my experience is like everybody's, but I felt like I was just so set for success that you're just like doing all the prep work. It's kind of like when you're going through flight school. It's like, you're ready to go out and be a co-pilot out with your squadron. It's kind of like going to, Pensacola for API, then you go to primary, you go to advanced, and you go to a free replacement squadron. They send you out to your squadron.
Yeah.
So between Booth, I interned at Google, then McKinsey, and then I went out when I became an entrepreneur. I felt like I was, maybe I was still going to fail. There's no chance, there's nobody guarantees success.
Yeah.
There's never any guarantee of that. But it's like going through an entire extensive training curriculum that on the back end, it's really up to you. If you fail, it's kind of on you. You've done everything you can to set yourself up for success, versus you imagine, going straight from the academy to your operational squadron. Like, oh boy, that would not work out well. So that's the kind of analogy I like to think of it as.
Okay.
And I think part of the reason that I was so, just like I, feel like been pretty successful in aviation, similarly successful in business, because I had all those steps which led me up to the point of starting my own business.
Okay.
Yep.
That makes sense.
Yep.
That makes sense. Okay, I'm gonna put you on the spot. Which was more challenging, Booth or the Naval Academy?
The Naval Academy.
Okay.
7 days a week and twice on Sunday.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. No,
Okay.
way more challenging. I mean, Booth, they're different. I mean, and it's like apples and oranges. Naval Academy, it's not fun. Like, I was not, I was not a mid that had a lot of fun at the academy.
Yeah.
I kind of just made it through, and made it out the other end, and everything was fine, and got my pilot bill. I was happy.
Yeah.
But and I did learn a lot. Like I say, I love the academics of the Naval Academy. I'm a Glee clubber, so love the Glee Club. So much fun there. Love my major, system engineering.
Yep.
Great professors, and so those are probably my two favorite things. Everything else, can't say I loved it.
It sucked.
It sucked. And so, but at Booth, like, it's almost like you get kind of those two things. Like, the academics were great, really interesting, challenging, loved it. I also, when I was at Booth, I co-founded an a cappella group.
Nice.
So called Economies of Scale. So me and one of my classmates, we co-founded that. So I got to sing. I got to, take classes from some of the best professors in the world. I got to interact with really, really cool folks. And, I got opportunities to some of the best jobs in the world. And not only opportunities, but the career services at Booth, give a quick shout out to them, were amazing. They were so good. It's again, you were like on rails. It's like you're in Naval Aviation training again.
Yeah.
You are on rails. They're pushing you through.
Yeah.
And you have to actively work to get off that track.
Yeah.
So because they really did a great job. And I felt like they just had so many opportunities there, and they just put you in front of, these really good companies with amazing reputations, really interesting work, and you have a very high chance of succeeding.
Yeah.
Again, not guaranteed, just like flight school, folks that try it, but the odds are in your favor.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Okay, so I'm a young ensign, right? We have a lot of, JOs, people graduating the academy, and I am looking for a short-term rental. Can you just go over the process of, actually like, looking for a property, identifying like regulations, go through like the staging process. What do you look for? Can you just
break it down
all the way? Give the people what they want.
Yep. So first question is, where are you going to buy this property? That's the first question you have to ask yourself. Is it going to be local where I live? Not local. And then you can subdivide that into someplace completely you've never been to before, or maybe it's like a place that you kind of know, like your hometown. Maybe you have some folks that can help you. So that's your first question you have to ask. Most folks are going to say local.
Yep.
Right? That's usually where you go. If you're going to take one of the other routes, good on you. There's some more challenges there, but I'm not going to cover that.
Yeah.
So I'm going to assume you're going to choose local, which is probably what 90% of the folks are going to do.
Yeah.
The second thing I would say is find one of two people, or both, even better. A realtor who knows their market and especially is smart on short-term rentals. In almost every market, there are usually a couple realtors who really know short-term rentals. That's what they focus on.
Yeah.
Find one of them. Find an Airbnb host or short-term rental host that they're a realtor and they're a host. That's even better. The second person you could elect to find, not necessary, is a property manager who knows that market extensively. So they will know the regulations well. They can back up the realtor. Sometimes they're really smart on regulations. Sometimes they aren't. The other thing is to do your own due diligence. Talk to the city. Like, look up the laws on the city website. Don't take their word for it. Right?
Yeah.
Step one is listening to what they say. Step two, it's like trust but verify, right?
Yep, absolutely.
Trust and then verify. Go on to the city council's website. Like, look up news articles.
Yep.
Look up the state's state laws. Like, I will literally, if I go to a new market like Annapolis, I will go into the city's laws and I will read the laws.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
that is key. Is absolutely making sure your regulations are sound.
Yeah.
Third one, after you get all that done, what type of property do I want to buy in that market? So then I think about single family, multifamily. That's your basic question. Their advantage to each. I'm going to assume you're going to go single family because most people aren't going to go into multifamily unless it's small multifamily like a duplex, triplex, or a quad. They aren't that different.
Yeah.
But let's assume you're going to go single family. At that point, you're looking to get the property under contract. I always say you make your money at acquisition. So we were talking about this earlier, but when you buy, as an investor especially, you want to think about, when am I going to buy? What type of properties am I going to buy? I usually find my properties on the MLS or Zillow. I'm not so I've gotten one or two from wholesalers.
Yeah.
Who y'all might be familiar with. Had mixed results there. Yeah. But generally I get MLS or Zillow. You also develop a relationship with one or more realtors so that then when they have a unit listing that's about to come to market, they reach out to you, take them out for coffee, buy them donuts, take them out to dinner, do everything you can to be that first person in their mobile phone that they text when they have a property that they think you'll like that comes available, right? Maybe even before it hits the market. That happens sometimes. I've got potentially my best deal ever, 2 deals ever from properties recommended to me by realtors before they hit the market.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's that. Once you've done all that, once you got it, get under contract, negotiate, close on it, get debt if you want, buy cash, whatever. That I'm going to skip that process for now. Then the next important thing is staging. I'm also going to assume it's turnkey, that you're not going to renovate it. Yeah. That's a whole nother ball of wax, which I've done lots of times, but I'm going to assume it's turnkey just for clarity's sake. Staging is critically important. You don't have to spend a lot of money, but what you need to do is be thoughtful about your design choices. one, hopefully you're really good at interior design. That's very helpful. Two, if you aren't, no big deal. Hire an interior designer. They are worth every penny that you pay them. You should expect to pay them a fee, and you will make that money back typically in 12 to 24 months, which from a real estate investing perspective, that is a 50 to 100% cap rate, which is crazy high. It is. They're so worth it. Typically what I see with clients' properties who hire an interior designer is they usually make $500 to $2,000 a month more than comparable properties. And we have some where literally I have two townhomes in Jacksonville Beach, one next to another, one interior designer, the other that didn't. One of the properties consistently makes $1,000 a month more than the other one.
That's insane.
Exact same configuration, same builder, side by side. One, the owner designed it on her own. She didn't do a terrible job.
Yeah.
But it's just kind of humdrum.
Yeah.
And the second one hired an interior designer who is great, did like stenciling on the walls and, palm fronds and all this stuff. Looked fantastic. Typically made like $1,000 a month more than the other one.
That's insane.
So absolutely important. The other thing is you don't have to spend a ton of money. Usually when we do, and we have our own in-house interior design, but we'll spend about 80% of our money on basic stuff, Wayfair, IKEA, Amazon. So most of it, same stuff you're going to buy. But two things. It's making sure that it's thoughtfully, you think the entire property, it fits well together. The style is similar. It's not disjointed. The other thing is you intersperse that with nicer pieces of furniture. Like at our property in Annapolis, we have, as one example, a CB2 sort of like day bed that flips into a king size bed.
Yeah.
Which is like kind of expensive, but it looks really good. It's sort of an accent piece.
Yeah.
And it's sort of putting that in, making sure other things, I call them tchotchkes, but little decor, not too much.
Yeah.
You don't want it to be cluttered.
Yeah.
But it can't be like a dresser with absolutely nothing on it.
Yeah.
Which I see. Also, the other thing, my other pet peeve, three other pet peeves really quickly. One is no art on the walls. Like zero, you walk into Airbnb and there is nothing on the walls anywhere.
Yeah.
You can get great art from Etsy for like $30 a print. You can get picture frames from Michael's for $30 a frame. Pop one, that's $60 a frame. You do 10, 12 of those. Spend a couple $100, looks so much better. The other thing is no dressers. I know you guys are out there, Airbnb hosts. Whenever I stay in an Airbnb or in a short-term rental, there is no dresser. I get upset. It is $200 or $300, and you get long. I will not book one if I don't see a picture of a dresser in it. If I stay at a long-term Airbnb, and I've been at some for months at a time, being a bit of a digital nomad, myself. So I rented one for a year straight in San Diego when I was there for a year, and I did not have a dresser for almost an entire year. I was not happy. I almost bought it myself and just said, take it.
Yeah.
I didn't, but I was this close to doing it.
Yeah.
And then the final thing that I like, a small amenity, but I think it's important and kind of sets you apart and shows that it really is the hospitality business, is I like to get one of the luggage stands. You can get them on Amazon for $20, $30 a pop. Yeah. Put one in every bedroom. So, and I do the dresser and the luggage stand. And the other thing too, is hangers, nice hangers in the closet, not the ones you got from your dry cleaners and didn't turn them back, but go on Amazon, buy the velvet ones for they're like $1 or $2 each. It just looks nice. You're showing your guests that this is a legit business. This isn't just, an apartment where I stay in, and otherwise I'm just going to rent it out to you. I think it does set you apart. There's so many hosts that don't do these little things. There are others. There are probably a dozen others that I can name, but I don't want to go too in depth. But it's the little things that just show that you are in the hospitality business. And that's really what it is. Like if you're renting out a short-term rental, you are a hotel manager of a one-room hotel or a one property hotel.
Yeah.
And you really have to have that mindset. And that's critically important with guests. So many hosts don't have that, and they figure it out, and over time you will get crushed, especially in such a competitive market like the U.S. short-term rental market. So incredibly competitive right now. You have to have these things to stay competitive.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
So who do they need on their team? Like I'm setting up, got the place, decorated. Who do I need on my team to make this work? So
theoretically, you can do it all yourself. I did it all myself for a couple years. Is it fun? No. Do you want to answer? Do you want to answer a guest message when you're at a hotel and you're working on you have a deliverable for your boss?
Yeah.
That's due in an hour, and your guest is blowing up your phone because they can't get the Wi-Fi to work.
Yeah.
That will happen. They can't get in the door. You get a text or a call at 11:55 p.m. on a Friday night because they can't figure out the keypad code. Because or heaven help you. Oh, the other thing, sorry. No lock boxes. I hate lock boxes. Okay, that's another one. Don't do lock boxes. They're terrible. Spend $150 on a keypad from Lowe's. So, but because you have a lock box, and guess what? The cleaners didn't put the key back in. Yeah. They took it with them, and it's 11:55 p.m. It's a Friday night. You're out with your partner, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, whatever, night on the town or grabbing dinner. And instead, your guest is blowing up your phone because your cleaners didn't put the key back in the lockbox because you were too cheap to buy a keypad for $150. So you can do all of it by yourself, but you are acting as all these people. If I could say the one thing you should outsource, it is cleaning.
Yeah.
One is because you can do it yourself. When we were talking about this.
Yeah, I can't.
Most people can't.
Yeah.
Not only that, but it is tough. And the guests have high standards, as they should.
Yeah.
They should, because again, it's a hospitality business. Everything has to be perfect. No exceptions. So we'll do quality assurance checks and cleaning inspections. I have very high standards for my cleaners.
Yeah.
If it's not perfect, they're coming back and they're fixing it.
Yeah.
At no cost to me.
Yeah.
So,
absolutely.
and that you need to find cleaners who know how to do short-term rentals. If they don't know short-term rentals, they look like, that you have three heads and you ask them, do you know STRs? Do not hire them. Do not train them. It is not worth your time. Yeah. You need to find especially if you have a big company, that's a different story. You can train them and you have like a cleaning manager like I do.
Yeah.
That's a different story. But if you're on your own, do not try to train somebody to be a good short-term rental cleaner. You need to find a cleaner who knows what they're doing. Also, you need to pay them well. Cleaners will make or break you. If you do not pay your cleaners well, you will not get clean units and you will not make money, especially in today's environment.
Yeah,
the other thing that can be helpful that we do, we have 24/7 guest communications, which I love, because it literally, if a guest texts us at 2 a.m., one of my team members who's overseas should answer them within 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So that's. And obviously, it's not super easy to do that without scale. We didn't even implement 24/7 communications until about a year or two ago.
Okay.
So you need to get some scale to do this, but that is so helpful. If you don't have that, try to automate as many things as you possibly can. One thing I like that I'm really big on is lock automation. And also for security, something else that's super critical is making sure you change the guest's keypad codes after every guest, which also is a huge pain. And very labor intensive.
Yeah.
We have software called Remote Lock. That's another one that I forgot to mention that connects with our property management software Guesty and changes the code after every guest reservation.
Okay.
Critical for security. If you don't do that, you are asking for something bad to happen.
Yeah.
So I highly recommend investing in a smart lock that is Wi-Fi enabled. My plug is for the Schlagen code. Love those things. We have them on over 70% of our units.
Yeah.
And they are the best. So if you don't know what lock to buy a Wi-Fi enabled Schlagen code, pay for software. Like we use Remote Lock. There's also Lynx, which is founded by a Booth graduate as well. Okay. They're also good. One of those two, connect there, pay what you need to pay per month. Remote Lock is about $12 to $15 a month. I think Lynx is about the same, but pay that. It is so worth it.
Yeah.
And it makes your life easier because guess what? The guest has a specific code for them. We put backup codes in the system, so if they can't get in with the original code, we have 4 backup codes, which if we give it to them, we burn it. So when they check out, we burn that code, create a new one. And so you can see, system that gets back to the original question.
Yeah,
one of the original systems and processes, right? Building all these things in, putting processes in place, because if you don't expect bad things to happen, they're going to happen regardless, whether you expect them to or not. If you don't have a plan, bad things will happen and you won't know what to do. So it's like, being having a plan or whatever. Everybody has a plan until you get fired. I forget what you get fired upon or you see fire. But at the same time, at least it's a place to start from, and at least it's a way that you know what I'm going to do, or at least what I think I'm going to do. You can always flex from there.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So there's been a lot of news on Twitter and just the random news channels about short-term rental market crashing. What's your take on it? And what do you see since you've been in it for 8 years? I mean, you manage a ton of units, so firsthand what's going on. So give us a little inside trading.
So just like most headlines, there's some truth to it and there's some untruth to that. The truth, and we manage in 10 different markets right now. So some markets are seeing this more than others. One example is Northeast Florida in general. So Northeast Florida, as a general rule, is not highly regulated. And as a result, you can turn virtually any property into a short-term rental. Because of that, we've seen, especially over the last 2 years, a massive influx of new units coming into the market, and demand has simply not kept up with the increase in supply. As a result, guess what? Prices go down. That's, economics 101. So that is happening in a market like Northeast Florida. A lot of the municipalities there, Jacksonville Beach, St. Augustine, those three in particular, very light or non-existent regulations, which results in huge influx of short-term rentals in the market, results in prices going down. That results in these units becoming unprofitable because below a certain price point, it doesn't make any sense. The owners either need to sell them or convert them to long-term rentals. The good news is that guess what? You can always convert to long-term. That's at the end of the day, you may eat 5, 10, 15,000, hopefully not 47,000, but sometimes that's what we spend on furniture for nicer units worth of furniture. But at the end of the day, you eat that, you learn it as a lesson learned. It's a mistake. You move on, you convert it to long-term, and life is good. So that's the upside. The interesting thing is for our markets that are highly regulated, two of the ones that are the most highly regulated are Nashville and Chicago. Our units there are doing great. Because guess what? Supply is constricted. Exactly. So demand is probably about the same, maybe even a little bit more than it has been the last couple of years, but supply is significantly constrained because of regulations. Units are doing great. Annapolis is kind of in the middle. It's probably like medium regulated, but our units there doing fantastic. The other advantage too is finding smaller, unsophisticated markets. Again, I use Annapolis as a smaller, unsophisticated market where the existing property managers may or may not know what they're doing. The hosts usually don't. The individual owners. Sometimes they do. There are exceptions, but usually they don't. But those markets are great. So we just started managing in Annapolis in November, and we've done really well there. Our units are having amazing bookings. We've got an awesome summer. The fall football games, holy moly. I did not expect the ADRs to be as high as they were for Navy football games. I was very surprised in a good way for us. Sorry for you guys if you booked our places. I'm sorry, but that's what the market is saying they rent for. So we price it to meet the market, but we do have discount codes. So let me know and I'll give you guys our discount codes. We have a standing one. I think it's Beat Army 03.
I got you.
Is our discount code that works for any of our units. But anyway, so that's the thing is focus. If you can get into a regulated market, because that's gonna protect you as an investor. The only hard part is like, how do I get into it? Right? If it's regulated, it means it may be difficult to actually get into the market.
There's certain like overlays because Virginia Beach is highly regulated, right? There's certain areas of Virginia Beach where it's a lot more simple to do Airbnbs out of. So that's when it pays to reach out to the local expert and kind of get yourself in the door really. So 3 pieces of advice you would leave to your young midshipmen or JOs and out in the fleet as far as business. It could be anything. Just 3 pieces of solid advice.
Yep. So the first one that I'll say is comparison is the death of happiness. So you guys are watching this podcast. You see folks like me who've, frankly, been very, very fortunate and successful. And you're like, oh my gosh, where am I? I can never be like this. Think about your personal success and where you are in your position in life, whether it's starting off in the fleet, having transitioned from active duty to the civilian sector, or even if you're, getting close to retirement. Everybody's situation is different. There's always somebody that's going to do it better than you. There's always somebody, that's going to be the, Elon Musk or Bill Gates or whoever, especially in business. You're always looking at these folks and you're like, oh my gosh, they're my age and they've already done this. What am I doing? And so, I do that myself. And I think a lot of us, especially our entrepreneurs or really anything, we're always saying, can I just be like this guy or gal? And, it kind of second guessing yourself. But I really don't think that's a healthy attitude. We all have different stories. We all have different priorities, commitments, even like, handicaps. Like I'm terrible at remembering things. Like I have the memory of a fruit fly, right? So
Yeah.
I forget what I had for breakfast every morning. And there's some people that are like human computers that have a photographic memory and they're going to remember everything. So like, don't compare yourself to somebody else. You don't know what they've been doing. You don't know what privilege they've had, where they've come from. Everything is different. So really do your absolute best you can in your personal situation and go from there. And don't look at other folks for inspiration, but don't get so hung up on, oh my gosh, they've been so successful. Why can't I be like that? Because we all have our own story. We all have our own path. And my personal philosophy is you want to maximize your path, your story, given what you have as a person, what resources, what connections, what, where you are in life. And that's the best you can do. And that's what you should be happy with, not considering how you're doing compared to somebody else. I think that is not a healthy attitude and doesn't lead to long-term success and happiness.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I agree with that because I have some people who reach out to me and they own 3 houses and they're 22 years old and they're looking at me who has, a bigger portfolio. But at the same time, it's like you're 22 years old with 3 houses.
Yeah.
Like, why are you upset?
I didn't have one house when I was 22. I know, right?
Exactly. You're doing probably better than 99% of people, to be honest with you. But it's just to the point you said, comparison, steals your happiness at the end of the day. So what other advice do you have for the GOATs?
Other ones is, and it's, value your people and your team, enable them. There's the, it's like a podcast from the submarine captain. I don't know if you guys, it's like he's an inspirational speaker and he talked about how he has turned the ship around. I don't know if you've heard it. You should listen to it if you haven't. It's a short.
I'm going to have to look that up.
Absolutely. I think it's fantastic from a leadership perspective.
Okay.
Short bluff is that submarine captain took over a failing boat, turned the ship around through enabling his sailors.
Yeah.
So basically saying almost a lot of times the opposite of Navy leadership where, you're kind of like, you're on the bridge as the captain and you're, barking at the ensign, the OD and all this stuff. And it's kind of like saying, you know what? I'm going to let them run the ship.
Yeah.
I'm going to let them make the decisions. I'm going to make them fail, or I'm going to let them fail, let them learn. And it's amazing. You can find it on YouTube. I'm pretty sure it's Turn the Ship Around. It's about 5 minutes. I love it. I think it's super important in terms of letting your folks operate, let them do their jobs, don't get involved. Occasionally you don't want to be completely hands off.
Yeah.
But, let them ask for your help rather than interjecting yourself. And full disclosure, I struggle with that sometimes because, it was a one-man show at the very beginning. I know how I like to talk to guests. I know how I struggle with that sometimes, but I'm constantly working to try to push myself back and let my team operate. Yeah. And basically be there as an advisor and a coach and a mentor. Yeah. Rather than, like a manager or a leader. And I think as you get higher up and, you build your company, you take more and more of that approach. You try to push yourself back, try to be the visionary, the strategist, the leader, or still a leader, but more of a coach and a mentor. Yeah. Rather than, getting down the trenches and saying, oh no, you need to do this, not that. And so that's what I'm trying to do. Yeah. As I build my company, is taking a step back and letting my folks operate as they become more senior. They know what they're doing. They've been doing it now for a couple of years, oftentimes, and so I kind of let them do their thing, and I try to take a step back and let them operate.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's funny you say that because one of my favorite ships I was a part of, the captain did just that. He well, what do you think we should do? And that was literally like my favorite tour. So shout out to all the SWOs out there. Okay, third piece of advice.
Let's see here. Number 3, find something you're passionate about. So one of my senior pilots, I was a brand new 2P to my unit, and he's one of those folks that everybody knows this. As you're leaving, they're departing. It's like a week of crossover. Yeah. And he was a cool guy, and I remember talking for a week or so, and I was like, man, he's really cool. And then he left and went to another unit, flying C-12s out of Itsugi, Japan, which was such a great gig. So jealous. And then we actually flew back stateside after his tour is complete and my tour is complete on the same flight. And I remember we showed up at SeaTac at like 7 a.m. from an overnight from Tokyo, and we were having like a Bloody Mary or something together at the airport lounge. And he said, EJ, if you are doing something and somebody else is doing that same thing and they are passionate about it, they have an automatic 30% advantage coming out the door. And so that's my thing, is that you really need to find something that it doesn't feel like work, that you really just enjoy. And if that's the Navy, that's what you should do. If you just eat, live, breathe, sweat Navy, the sea, ships, aviation, Marines, whatever, you should do that, because that's what you're passionate about. That's where you'll be successful. That's where you have fulfillment. That is where you are meant to be. But from the same flavor, if you're not passionate about something, you should spend less time doing that, because you are at a distinct disadvantage to your peers who are passionate about it. So if somebody, on your ship they just love ship driving, they just love being the OD, they love standing engineering watch, whatever they love doing.
Yeah.
You can't compete with them, right? And at the end of the day, whether it's, government service, this private sector for sure, we're all competing to an extent with each other. Sometimes, like private sector, believe it or not, it can be very collaborative. And in fact, even folks that theoretically you're competing with, you're like, meh, technically we're competing, but whatever.
Yeah.
It's a pie. Everybody gets a slice, but sometimes you can even grow the size of the pie, not just work. And that's what I like to focus on. So another piece is like maximizing the pie, not the slice. That's another one. But like if you're competing with them, then you're an automatic 30% disadvantage if you don't like what you're doing. So find what you're passionate about and do it. You will be happier that way. You'll be more successful, and it'll give you a better life.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Tell the goats where they can, find you at. Where are you at on Facebook? Are you on Instagram, TikTok? What are you on?
Yeah. So, LinkedIn, two companies that I have technically. Silver Street Management is the short-term rental property management company. And then Silver Street Capital is the real estate focused private equity firm, which also, at least all of our syndications to date, have been short-term rental related. So that's really kind of my skill set, and where I think, we have a competitive advantage because we just know so much about what we're doing. So Silver Street Capital doesn't have much of an online presence, but Silver Street Management does, because it's more public facing, and because we can take on any property management client. So you can find us on Instagram. I think it's Silver Street Management. I think we're shortening it to just Sierra Lima Victor Romeo Sierra Tango. Okay. That's our website as well, is https // Sierra Lima Victor Romeo Sierra Tango.com. So Silver Street, just no vowels.
Okay.
And missing a couple consonants too, but whatever. So that's where you can find us. LinkedIn have a page for both companies, and Facebook we have Silver Street Management, and I think that's it at the moment.
Okay.
So I think my marketing gal / contractor, I think she's working on a TikTok for us or something, but I'm not quite sure about that.
Yeah,
I'm
definitely.
too old for TikTok. So yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. Okay, I forgot. You have to tell the story real quick about the funeral home you're converting to apartments. I know we're pressed on time, but we gotta run the story.
So this is another reason why you need to have good contacts with your realtors. So a realtor who sold me another property, and she was also my retail tenant and just a really good friend in general, she had a client who'd bought a really cool funeral home in downtown Jacksonville. And unfortunately, for personal reasons, they were having to sell it. And she texted me and said, EJ, I have this property. It wasn't even listed with her.
Yeah.
They listed it on Zillow for sale by owner.
Yeah.
And they didn't list with her, but she said, it's coming online. It's on Zillow. It's not on the MLS. Call them. You're going to love it. I did. I got a tour that day. I made an offer. I was walking out the door of the property.
Yeah.
Phenomenal property, about 12,000 square feet. Converting it, what is Florida's oldest funeral home, into basically short-term rentals. So all apartments, 8 studio apartments, 4 one-bedrooms, and a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom kind of like master apartment that's going to be absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah.
We're adding in a pool, a courtyard, a restaurant, and on-site parking. So in downtown Jacksonville, big project, started in 2021, still trying to get the renovation part fully off the ground, dealing with a lot of municipal government foibles and little particulars. The good news is, though, we've gotten some really good funding for redevelopment funding from the city, and we've also worked through the National Park Service federal historic landmarking process, which is a whole nother ball of wax.
Yeah.
If you want to get into talk about red tape and struggles, that is a whole nother one, but worth it in the end because of some significant tax incentives that are really cool. So if anybody ever wants to get into that, I can speak to that at Surface. I did hire a consultant for that.
Yeah,
absolutely. That's the cheat code is if you don't know what you're doing, hire somebody to do it for you, whether it's a renovation, property management, real estate, buying or selling, whatever, because that's sometimes you lose way more money than you would have spent by trying to do it on your own. That's one lesson I've learned over the years.
Yeah.
Is sometimes like if I don't know how to do, federal historic landmarking and all these reams of paperwork for the National Park Service and mistakes that if I make, I can lose the entire grant.
Yeah.
Hire somebody who's an expert in that field, pay them to do their job, and it's well worth your time and effort in the long run.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so anyway, so hopefully about a year from today, we should be open for business.
Okay.
Operating the apartments as short-term rentals and the restaurant on site in the La Villa district of downtown Jacksonville. So
That's
super excited for that.
awesome.
Yeah, we'll try to get DTS to add us in as a lodging option. That may take a while, but if you want to stay at an awesome apartment, if you're in Jax for whatever reason, it's going to be amazing. Absolutely beautiful rooms. We're very big on interior design, very thoughtful in terms of the spaces being an experience and really like something you couldn't have at home. And it maybe to touch upon that very briefly, that's I think one of the most important things about operating a short-term rental is your guests are getting away from home. They don't want it to look like home.
Yeah.
It needs to be an experience. A lot of our guests are staying in a place that not uncommonly is significantly nicer than their home or any place they normally stay at. So really focusing on that and making sure that you deliver a very high quality product means that regardless of what your competitors bring to the marketplace, because I'm going to be honest, most competitors don't know what they're doing and they just don't get this right. So if you can stand above them from an interior design perspective and an operational perspective, you're probably going to be fine, even if you get an influx of short-term rentals in the market like we're experiencing in Northeast Florida right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. Absolutely. Well, EJ, I appreciate you, you coming out, dropping the knowledge on the goats here. I know you're a busy man. You got to get back up to Annapolis. He drove all the way down from, Annapolis and just to do this podcast. So really appreciate, your time and effort. And as always, relationships are the most important currency. This is Joffrey Whiteside signing out.